The ground shook, the air burned. The sky, which was once bright and blue, turned into a thick, dark cloud of dust and fire. It seemed like the world was ending, but somehow, two people survived. Three specifically, but two that we're gonna name. LeBron James and Rosa Parks. They had been in different places when the explosion happened. Fate brought them together. The city around them was gone, turned into ruins, cars were flipped, buildings broken, and everything was covered in ash. But against all odds, they stood tall, unhurt and alive. LeBron James, the famous basketball star, brushed off the dust from his shoulders. His muscles still strong like iron from just practicing, it would kept him calm throughout the disaster it carried him. He looked around searching for anyone else. Then he saw her, Rosa Parks, gray hair bustling, blouse, cardigans buttoned, the brave woman from history standing quietly, covered in ash. Her eyes were full of determination. She had fought for justice long ago, and now she gonna fight for their survival. The world was silent, except for the cackling of the fire. The distant rumbling off of the earth. LeBron reached out his hand and said, "Are you okay?" You know what I'm saying? He's like, "Yo, you good?" Rosa nodded. Rosa Parks be calm throughout everything was out there was chaos. They knew they had to move fast. The explosion had wiped out everything familiar, but they were still there. Together they had to find a way to keep going. Walking through the ruined streets, they saw signs of what had been lost. A burnt basketball sat in the rubble, reminding LeBron of the game he loved and the practice he was once doing before unfamiliarity set out unto them. Rosa saw an empty bus, obviously his window shattered, and she thought about the time she refused to give up her seat, standing strong for what was right. Now she and LeBron had to stand strong again, but this time against a broken world. They searched for food, for water, obviously waiting for the radiation to go out, scavenging, and while the radiation was going out, they had created a simple safe spot for them. Days passed and all that happened, and as soon as they came out, they started searching for food and water. Everything was scarce. The air was heavy and hard to breathe. LeBron was towering over the wreckage, used his strength to move large pieces of debris, hoping to find something useful underneath. Rosa was wise, patient, guided him, reminded him to be careful. They were a team working together, you know what I'm saying? More days passed and the loneliness grew. There were no crowds, no cheers, no buses full of people going to work. They needed to keep strong. They built a small shelter again using pieces of broken wood and metal. They found a stream with clean enough water. LeBron hunted for food using whatever tools he could find. Rosa kept watch, staying alert for danger even in the hardest moments. They never gave up. One night, they gonna sit under a sky full of eerie red clouds. Still nuclear radiation flowing. They both knew when they changed the world. LeBron starts to say, "Alright, Rosa, you changed the world." Rosa said, say back, "So did you." They both knew they had lived through different times, different battles, yet they knew they were fighting the same fight, survival. Everything else goes out the window. They talked and talked about the courage, the strength, and the hope that they needed to survive this nuclear radiation and this nuclear fallout. They knew the world might never be the same, but they also knew that they had to keep moving forward. In the distance, they saw something. Light. A small glow in the darkness. It was a sign that maybe, just maybe, others had survived too. They stood up, ready to find out. Because no matter how much the world has changed, one thing stayed the same. They would never stop pushing forward. The journey had only begun, and together they would face whatever came next. And what comes next is Stephen Curry coming out of the blondes with somebody else, unidentified, unrecognizable, in fact. A random, probably 30-year-old woman with black hair come through. Stephen Curry doesn't even know who they are. They won't give up their name. They're in fact mute. However, they can understand body language and recognize the predicament that they're in, that they need to work together. Stephen Curry and his mute woman, and LeBron James and Rosa Parks start teaming up together to finally find out what they're gonna do next with this nuclear wasteland, waste-ridden life.